Hello and welcome back to TAY Radio Marin. I am your host, Javier Vicuna, and I am joined today by my co-host,
Santy Hernandez.
And on today's show, we have a very special guest. We have Diango Reyes, who works here at the Multicultural Center of Marin. We are so excited to have you on, Diango. Could you please just introduce yourself, your role in the Multicultural Center of Marin?
Great. Thank you for having me, guys. It's been a while since I've been on. I think this is going to be my second show since the grand opening. But very happy to be here. I'm Diango Reyes. I'm the Youth and Family Programs Manager for MCM. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, so it's actually crazy for those who might not know. Diango was in the first episode of TAY Radio Marin, which I think is really awesome. It's all full circle now. Like, how do you feel like being in a new... Like seeing how it was the first episode to now probably our 100th to 101 episode now.
It's really surreal and very fortunate to kind of see the progression and how it's just evolved from the first one and just talks of recruitment, because that's where I supported in with the beginning of TAY Radios and recruiting the host. But man, being in here and kind of being here in the grand opening as well, it's wonderful, man, to just see it all fruition and come to what's come to today.
That's awesome. And I think a big part, a big theme that we're going to be seeing throughout the episode today is that since we're preparing for National Nonprofit Day, nonprofits, we'll talk more about what a nonprofit is, but nonprofits in general, they evolve over time, I feel, because you're always trying to help out the community and leave an impact. And with that comes evolution. So it's nice to have you here. Seeing how you've overseen like TAY Radio over the past it's been 3 years for TAY Radio, I think. Yeah, I think it's been 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
18.
18. What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 19, 22, 122.
And I think
4 years.
we started the.
Oh, you guys started in 18.
We started.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we had the
2018. I was confused too. I was like 18 years. What?
And I remember having conversations just about the program and developing it and supporting David with it in 17. So it's been 5 years for me. Kind of just been.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here. We've had really interesting conversations, and I hope we can bring some of that into the table today. But thank you for being here. I'm really excited to hear the behind the scenes of creating of TAY and the other programs that you currently work in. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, and the work that Diango does is fantastic. So again, we're really happy to have you on today. But before we delve a little deeper into your role, we were wondering what was your favorite part of the Multicultural Center of Marin's grand opening celebration?
For me, well, it's just kind of seeing all of our partners from pre-pandemic and kind of seeing everybody in person. That's just going from seeing them physically to giving a handshake and even giving hugs to some of the people that we've been collaborating and working with for me for the past 7 years here. Mm-hmm. So I think that was the most wonderful part, and just seeing that we're continuing to support each other and them coming to our grand opening and just continuing to be involved and supporting us. I thought that was the most beautiful part about the grand opening, just having our doors open and just welcoming everybody back.
Yeah, I have to agree. The MCM grand opening celebration was really awesome to see just how many people were interested in the work that we do. And just hearing, because the history of the Multicultural Center we're in, from what I've seen, is that it started off as a small little, like in the garage, by our executive director, Douglas Mundo. He just created a little area in a garage in Canal. And to see it now in a fully fledged building in downtown Santa Fe, like it's just inspiring, really, and goes to show just like how beautiful working as a nonprofit really is, because you get to see all the partners that you made throughout the years. And yeah, I got to meet so many different people. I got so many people excited checking out this new studio space that we're in.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome to make potential partners and also reconvene with other partners. Like I agree. I had a really great time. Santy, did you want to add anything?
I wasn't here for the grand celebration, but I did get to see some videos, and I thought that was so cool. They did a tour, and the cutting of the
ribbon.
Yeah, I thought that was so nice.
Yeah, we had the mayor here for that as well. That was
really
cool.
Yeah, it was cool
up there with the ribbon cutting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, and hopefully we all will be able to see the video, because I know that we had one of our colleagues.
That's right.
A family member who does video, so they came in and recorded everything, and I think we're still yet to kind of get the final cut, and once we have that, I'm sure we're gonna see it and then be able to share
it on our websites. Yeah.
So that would be exciting for any of those who weren't here to make it. So.
And what's awesome is that I actually talked with the person that was helping out with that recording the video this week, and they're now just working on it. It's a lot of footage. That's why they recorded a lot.
And it was a gift. It was I think it was pro bono, and they were just kind of supporting, giving back to us, and that was kind of part of it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of the community came together, different people, different organizations. So I think it was a great event. Unfortunately, I wasn't here for it, but I am excited to see the video.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing. I want to move on to talking more about just the nonprofit organization and what is a nonprofit, right? So there's two different types of like organizations or businesses per se. Like a for-profit organization is specifically a company that seeks to provide a product or service to consumers and make a profit by doing so. So they're doing it for net gain, basically, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to make a profit. But a nonprofit organization, as the name implies, is to provide a service or benefit to the community with no intention of making a profit. So, hopefully that clears it up. The Multicultural Center Marin is a nonprofit, so that's an example. And there's plenty of other nonprofit organizations here in Marin County that we have partnered with, and Diango knows a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But just for those that might not know, the Multicultural Center Marin's mission is to provide a culturally appropriate resources and opportunities in a safe environment to empower and inspire diverse communities to build an inclusive and equitable county they want to live in. I personally think that they're doing a very good job of getting to that work, really going into the communities that need help.
We're doing a really good job.
We are doing a really great job. Of doing that. And Diango, did you want to add anything about that mission?
No, I think we'll kind of dive in a little bit more into the programs that I have, but just the missions and the values kind of are instilled in every program that we do. And about
most definitely.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be in at the table with Douglas and Cesar, who is our interim program director, and being able to talk with other head organizations, executives, and just talking about, hearing it firsthand from Douglas's, mouth, just hearing his vision and talking about the organization on empowering and making sure that we're educating and we're providing that empowerment to the people instead of just providing a service. And then there you go. I think it just speaks volume to the work that every individual here at the organization does.
Exactly. And that's also for TAY Radio. We've had so many diverse guests on just starting these past 2 months in our new studio, and it's beautiful to hear so many perspectives on different people, and it's just being able to have them here with us in person and be able to hear their voices and hear their stories is inspiring to us and inspiring to our viewers. And again, that all loops back to MCM's missions and values.
Absolutely.
But Santy, did you have any questions you wanted to ask Diango?
I do have a comment on the mission. We see MCM now with so many programs and different opportunities, but like you mentioned before, that it started in a garage, and I came into MCM with everything kind of settled very, very, very well. So I can imagine all the challenges that Douglas had to go through, and the people that came in and out and supported MCM and built a foundation. So when we came in, things were not so rocky. And when I read the mission, the inspired diverse communities really pops out to me, because as a immigrant Latina, female, growing up, you had a lot of different, the way the community kind of you grew up in was very different. And when you come here, you learn about women empowerment and being the first generation, going to college, and doing these different things. And so inspiring diverse communities really pops out to me. And being able to see and work with different people in MCM has been one of my favorite things. And that MCM has provided the youth with different programs, including TAY Radio, Presente, that allows them to be inspired and inspire others. So before we get into more of like the things you do currently right now, I know you had a big part in TAY Radio. So I'm very curious, how did you... but before that, how did you get involved with the organization?
Great question. Before I get into that, just kind of backtracking into the comment that you made about how you felt welcome. Prior to our name change, back in, I think it was 17 or 16, in 17, we were the Canal Welcome Center.
That's
prior.
right.
When I joined in 2016, we're still the Canal Welcome Center.
Yeah.
And we made a transition over to the Multicultural Center. But kind of, it just goes back. One of the missions and one of the missions and values of Douglas, of why he named it the Welcome Center, is to have that feeling of newcomers and indigenous people of different races and colors to come and have a center to feel welcomed. So that still speaks volume to, even though we don't have it in our name anymore, we've kind of gone to a more welcoming where it's multicultural. So, and also, and this week, today is actually one of my longtime friends, mentors, and colleagues. And I want to give a big shout out to him because he was the number 2 at this organization, Juan Colonia. So I want to give a big shout out to him and all the work that he did and being a pioneer and supporting Douglas throughout this process to have us here because he was a key part and all of it.
And all that, right?
Yeah, because it was him and Douglas when they first started.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so, kind of seeing him finally moving on into something else, but he's still working in the nonprofit world, but still, we're still going to be talking, and collaborating and working together. But just wanted to give a big shout out to him.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So to your question, how did I get involved with the Multicultural Center, once the Canal Welcome Center? So in 2016, I was finishing up my second and last semester at San Francisco State and getting a degree in criminal justice. So I started talking to my friends of mine who had just graduated. I'm like, how's the job hunting going? How's that process looking like? Just so I can get an idea.
Yeah.
And they told me it's hard, man. Everybody's asking me for experience. And I've just been working on school for the last 4 years. So, so I'm like, okay. They're like, go get an internship, find an internship, and get an experience in criminal justice. I wanted to be a juvenile PO at that time in criminal justice. So my uncle, who grew up as a childhood friend of Juan Colonia, had mentioned to him that there was a mentoring position opening up here at the Canal Welcome Center. Unfortunately, he already has a full-time job. And he was just that's just what he does. He likes to help out others and be just like a big brother. So it fit well with him, but it didn't fit with the schedule. And I was really close with my uncle at the time, so we were talking about what I was planning to do with school. So he's like, hey, I just talked to Juan and Douglas. You need to go reach out to Douglas and go talk to him about this mentor opportunity working with kids on juvenile probation. And I'm like, sounds ideal. So he connected me. I got an interview, came in and spoke to Douglas when we were still at 30 North San Pedro. And the rest is kind of history from there. I told him a little bit about my background. Guatemalan, immigrated here when I was 2 years old with my mom, crossed the border, been through a lot of hardships, grew up in the canal for about 10 years or so, still live here in San Rafael. So it was ideal for him. I was an ideal candidate to work with this population of kids because I grew up in the community. I have the same background, same kind of story. So it was a part-time job. I took it, and at the time, I was working under Partners for Success as a mentor, working with kids in juvenile probation, supporting their families, navigating the system and community resources. And Juan was the main person on that program, Partners for Success. So he was a full time and I was a part time. We were just working 20 hours. It was a great experience. And then just a little bit after that, I think 3-4 months passed. Juan got another job opened up to go work at County Community School as a learning coach, first position. That was also a pilot program working with them to kind of bring in-school support for the kids, troubled kids who get SARB, truancy, bad grades, So for me, after that, Douglas just came to me. He's like, hey, you want a full-time job? Yeah. So for me, I'm like, you know what? This is just going to be more experience for me. I was already working a full-time job going to school. So I was like, okay, I think I can manage this. And I was going to school on the weekend. So for me, that's kind of when I really took on everything on. The rest is history. 7 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, you've been here for a really long time. And I think it's awesome that your background kind of helped you kind of understand your community more, right? I'm sure that growing up in the canal helped you really connect with, with other Guatemalans, seeing the issues in the community. Because that's very similar to me. Like, I grew up in Canal for a couple of years, and but I moved around like all over Santa Fe, right? So I kind of got to like know Canal. Then I kind of got to know like the more the areas up in West Marin, right? Because West Marin's it's a very different feel from where we're at right now.
Canal is, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that, your uncle connected you to this job. Because I think that's kind of how some of the roles, a lot of the people here at MCM are connected the same way, either through a family friend, because Douglas just knows so many people from the community, and so does Juan. And being able to just give each other like these opportunities, it just goes back to that mission that MCM has of being inclusive and giving everyone an equal opportunity. So I think that's just awesome that, you've been here for so long and you literally, it all worked out, like you're looking for this internship.
It all worked out.
And it all just slipped into place.
It's really full circle because I started in August in 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't even remember the exact date, but August is my anniversary for MCM. So really kudos to be here. So that's kind of just popped in my head. I'm like, oh, wow, cool.
I do want to add on to what you said, that you were part of the community and then you jumped into working with the community. And I think that's so powerful because growing up, I didn't really have that to look up to. I grew up in Canal. I went to San Pedro Elementary and I would take the bus. But then I moved to Terra Linda and I went to a very white school.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anyone to look up to who understood my story of like coming to the US at a young age and learning a new language, learning a new culture, being Guatemalan. And I'm a very darker skin color compared to my peers. And I remember growing up, going to middle school, same. We were very little Latinos. So I really I think it's very powerful how you got involved as part of the community. And I think it does a connection with who you're working with. Very different if you were an outsider. Just wanted to add that with what you said. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, and just to add on to that, and I think that's one of our biggest, not values, but one of the things that we really are prideful in, and everybody that works at this organization and who's been here prior and who is going to continue to come in after us is we really want to bring in people who are culturally experienced and culturally appropriate to serve the community that we're serving.
Ooh, correct.
That's a big key thing for me as I continue to work here. I've been able to learn so much, and I think that's a very big thing that kind of sits with me. Mm-hmm. And for working with the populations, like you mentioned, I grew up in the community. I know I can literally put myself in a lot of kids' shoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I know what you're going through. Mm-hmm. I know what you feel like, or very close to similar to what you're going through. I've been there. So for me, it's it's very very different when we're being told or taught by peers that don't understand us or don't have an experience of what they're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think for me that was a really hard thing, going to school, because people had very different experience and I couldn't connect with them. And growing up here, my parents had no idea. My parents speak our native language and then Spanish, and they were learning English with me, and they were learning the culture here with me. They're very young too, so one of the biggest challenges that I had was having that connection and someone understanding what I was going through, understanding that, hey, for me, going out back in the day was so scary because I had so many things I had to worry about. Sometimes, I remember back in the day living in Canal, ICE police would be here, and I remember growing up, hiding, going to school, like my parents hiding us. So those type of experiences that you grow up with, and then you go to a school and they try to help you, but they don't understand you. And I think that understanding of being in someone's shoes is key in community work. Do you want to add anything?
No, just that I think that it's incredible that the both of you have very similar experiences, like just growing up with your families and learning a new culture, being a part of a new community. I mean, I was the same way too, because my mom and dad immigrated here like in the 90s, and then they had me here. But also me just growing up, I had to learn that, we didn't have that much money, right? And I didn't have the same opportunities as other kids had, because in my elementary school it was pretty diverse, actually. Like, looking back, my elementary school was really diverse, but I know that there's many of the elementary schools here, it's mostly white, right? And then like it's like either like 75% white and then like 25% Latino. But like I said, it was to me growing up, I never got discriminated on, which I'm very grateful for. But I've had a lot of friends who face discrimination, and I've also seen discrimination happen in front of my eyes. And I've also seen my mom get discriminated for having an accent when speaking English, and getting just profiled by the SRPD back in the day when she was learning to drive. She had a license and everything, but every time they would just have to stop us because they thought that, we were driving illegally without a license or something. I remember as a kid seeing that made me really like question, like, why do they have to like pick on us, like what's the issue?
We're so young, we don't understand until, at least for me, I didn't really understand most of my traumas of what I've, won from crossing the border, leaving my country at 2 years old. Even though I don't remember anything, there's so much that the brain understands,
remembers.
And for us it's so much, first, second, even third hand trauma, and even generational trauma.
Oh yeah,
being able to understand all that too, and as kids you don't, and we try to do with my programs as best as we can to kind of educate them on that and just put it on their mind. But I think we can get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, speaking of your programs, one of the ones that was mentioned early in the show is Presente. And for those who might not know, Santy was actually part of Presente, and that's how Santy kind of landed here and TAY Radio. And so was Annalie. Annalie was also part of Presente, who's in the back right now.
Kimberly as well.
And Kimberly as well.
Yes.
So Presente has had a huge impact on TAY Radio. I didn't come from Presente, but everyone who has been on TAY Radio and has been a host was a part of Presente.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. I think just one, which was one of the first hosts. I think Joshua was the only one.
Okay.
Mr. Curly, I think that's what his host name was. But yeah, Brandon and also Angie Gonzalez was also, both of them did Presente.
Okay.
And they all came out of Presente, yeah.
So could you talk to us more about what Presente is and how that process was of creating? Because I know you play a huge part in that.
Yeah. So Presente came a little bit after Partners for Success, which is one of our biggest programs that we have here at MCM, which I oversee. Partner Success is a program working partnership with Marin Juvenile Probation. Been a great collaboration and partnership. I think it started in 2012. With Juan being the first mentor, and it's just helping kids and their families to navigate the juvenile justice system and community resources, and empowering them to get on the path to success.
Was PFS created by the Canal Welcome Center, or was it just Juan's? Oh, so it was a part of
Douglas created it.
Douglas did create PFS.
Douglas created it. He saw the need in the community, and it still continues to this day. Just the number is compared to whites and blacks and other races is just, unfortunately, it's disproportionate. So and the needs are still there. So this program continues to thrive because there's still a great need in the community. And soon after that, I believe Presente. I'm not exactly sure the exact date on when Presente was created, but it came soon after that, 2012, and it's a youth leadership development program to provide leadership development to just disproportionate minority contact in Marin, so at-risk youth, and supporting them with we identify, select, and it's centered with the group at risk to not get involved in the juvenile justice system, and or now. And I'll get into kind of what we're heading into now. We're really doing a big transition in that.
Nice.
But to develop their skills and also a variety of culturally appropriate activities and exploring career paths. And in that as well, we were able to support kids also with some of the mental health aspects of it, with our generational trauma, like I spoke about before. And we've been able to empower and kind of guide the youth into TAY Radio, connect them with other agencies, and just kind of explore where their skills are after learning from learning all the training and opportunities to Presente. So I came in. I've been in 2016. However, I really wasn't a big part. I was just an outreach worker or mentor working with kids. So I wasn't a big part of Presente. I was doing some of the recruitment for it.
Gotcha.
Until this past year and a half is when, as I got promoted, I've been able to move up. And now I oversee all the youth programs. So now I'm overseeing it and I've kind of been able to see what's happening in the program and overseeing the outsides and logistics and administrative side of things. So now we're moving into a different direction, but very similar, keeping the same fundamentals, keeping the developing the leadership skills. But this year we're kind of focused. We've been seeing a greater need in youth voices. As you guys may know as well, you guys, have your show here. You guys are identifying and hearing, we need to hear youth voices in the community. That's the next generation. So we have a lot of commissions, task forces, 1925, gun safety. I work with, I meet with the DA, Lori Fugoli, once a month with leaders of the community. So there's a lot of task forces and commissions where they're in need of youth voices. So we've been very alert on that. We're hearing everybody. So what we're doing now, we're going to continue to provide the leadership development skills for the youth in more direct areas of mentorship, tutoring, and civic engagement. And still exploring all the areas of life skills and culturally appropriate activities and that sort, but really focusing on the civic engagement, mentorship, and mentoring. And our hope is to give them the training, empower them, and then being able to place them into these task forces, commissions, also mentoring and tutoring opportunities.
So for the youth in Presente.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's going to be part of like their aftercare as well. These kids at risk, we don't only want to have them come be part of a program and then see you later. We want to provide an aftercare piece. And this is what we're hoping that's going to really help them be more engaged be part in helping out the community that they're in. For me, it took me a while to realize what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to be a juvenile probation officer. It's not what I want to do anymore. Coming into this organization, doing the work that I'm doing now, has empowered me and kind of guided me into a different direction, and inspired me and lit something else inside of me that I'm like, that's what I want to do. You know, it's hard work. Doesn't pay very much as social workers, you know, just all across the board. But it's very humbling and it's really rewarding at the end of the day when you get to see, rewarding. You know, a lot of people ask me, so, hey, what's the, like, how do you determine if you're successful in your programs or the youth that you're working? I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to see anything today or tomorrow or next year. What I enjoy seeing, and now that I've been grateful to be here for 7 years, is being able to see kids that I worked with 6 years ago, where they are, what they're doing, hearing their stories, you know. That's the most rewarding part. We're hearing the stories. Man, I'm doing so well. I have my family now, which is, for me, it's weird. I'm 32 and I still don't have a family here, and so for me, it's like, whoa, you have a family and you're doing well. So that's the rewarding part, where you know you get to see down the road that these kids are doing well and their families. But yeah, so Presente, it's a great program, and you know, hopefully we get to instill some other development skills in there. And I think you guys know, and myself, growing up, we don't, and especially us indigenous people of color, immigrants, and even the school system, they don't teach you the things that you want to be taught, like independent living skills, you know. So that's going to be kind of what we're heading into in this fiscal year. And we're hoping, we got an expansion, and, you know, we're hoping to really get more heads drawn in and hopefully create more opportunities. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, creating more opportunities.
That's really exciting. And I'm really happy to hear that you've been helping out with making these changes and making Presente just that much bigger and better for the youth. Again, that's part of that evolution theme that we've been talking about, is just that these programs, they just develop over time. And I think it's awesome too that, like, youth that you worked with 6 years ago, seeing the long-term
young adults now.
Seeing the long-term effects that you've had on them, like the positive long-term effects, I can definitely see that as being super rewarding for you. And also, for quick application. So the application process for Presente, I know you guys go through like interviews, right, for each youth that wants to be in it?
Yeah, right now we are going to start our first recruitment just through our partner, Juvenile Probation. So we're working with kids who are in the system right now, who are ready to start making changes and who are ready to make a 9-month commitment. So that's where we're at right now. We will be opening the recruitment to the community and some of the other continuation in schools. Again, this is a program that's directed, and the population we want to get is those kids who are in high need and high risk, middle risk, and so we want to get them right before they get involved in the juvenile justice system.
Exactly.
And or in this particular case, working with kids who are in the system and are ready to make a change. Because it's really hard to, you know, get kids to change and commit to something at this early age, especially when they're kind of going through their own stuff at the moment. So we will be opening that recruitment up, and I will let you guys know. Hopefully you guys can put that out onto the show and to the community once we do open that up. So I think we have 2 weeks of recruitment with probation, and then after, to see, we're going to be, our first cohort will be from September, the third week of September, all the way until May next year. 9-month commitment broken into 2 parts. So September to December is the first part, which is the training, and then January to May will be the placement. And they get a $15,000 stipend broken into 2 parts, which is $750. And you know, you get to develop a lot of skills. And we get another cohort in January, so we'll also have another recruitment in December and early January. So
beautiful.
Yeah. And our hope is to get a lot of applicants, make it really competitive, and hopefully get some waitlisters. So, you know, the recruitment will be a lot easier if we get more numbers started now. And then for January, if there isn't room for this first cohort, you still have an opportunity for the second cohort that will start in January, running through September.
Awesome. Well, because I wanted to learn more about your experiences in Presente, Santy.
Okay.
But before we get into that, we're going to play a quick song, and then we'll come back. So we're going to be playing Ismael Lara's Pa Delante song. Again, we love Ismael Lara, and we hope to have him on the show soon. But yeah, this is Pa Delante by Ismael Lara. That's available now on Spotify and Apple Music and all your streaming platforms. All right, we'll be back.
This society try to crush my spirit, but my Chicano soul don't fold. I'm 100 with it. Mi gente dice al 100, puro pa' adelante. Pa' atrás a más, que se fue en vivo ya verás. Vamos, vamos, pa' adelante. Vamos, vamos, pa' adelante. Vamos, vamos, pa' adelante. Vamos, vamos, yeah. So who's the victor? You Roman silver, the 30 coins of Judas. I'm at dead gold, abundance of wealth that will never told. I'm the mind alliance, youngest defiance, a storm of stars and all the science. Duality of the serpent, don't misinterpret. I'm fine wisdom, age in the temple of the serpent. I'm the flaminess of chorus poems, wisdom that hits the soul. Nobility, we slip forth, it's hard to fight every day. We born to prove victory, not to feign decay. I'm good at Pachá princess, Erendine on her horse, ready for war. We don't die, we regenerate. Victory, our fate. On a cool breeze, I move with ease. My intellect stays strapped. I embrace my heritage, the brown, white, and the black. I got my mind on my studies, and my studies on my mind, ready to hit back with facts. Blackjack. So what's the meaning? Historical victory from the beginning.
Hello and welcome back. So again, that was Pa Delante by Ismael Lara. And Santy, so talk to us more about your time in Presente.
Well, I got involved with Presente at TL, Terlander High School. Mm-hmm. I had a very hard time, again, with college, applying to college, doing a couple of things. Growing up, I was on my own. I couldn't go with my parents. My parents didn't know anything. Again, my parents didn't graduate in any way. So I was basically on my own. I got into Avid, one of my favorite programs. I had Mr. Semberg, who was my Avid teacher. Unfortunately, he passed away in the middle of our school year. When I was a sophomore, and I was really heartbroken. He was a huge mentor to me. He actually was my editor and the guy who pushed me to publish my book. And when he passed away, one of the biggest things he always told us is that you have everything you need to succeed, and that's you. And he always told me that. So when I was in high school, I started noticing that a lot of Latino kids started coming into the school, and there was no help for them in like how you can get into College of Marin or how you could do this. And I remember how a lot of them were going in different directions. Some of them started getting suspended. They were getting drunk. They were smoking. There's so many different things. So my friends and I that were in Avid, we were like, what are we going to do to be able to help our community? So we ended up creating a club, and that club was, if I remember, it's All Students United. It might be that. And it basically, we created a club, and it was my friends and I, and our goal was to help students navigate high school, but in Spanish. So all of us spoke Spanish, bilingual, and a lot of them asked us, where do I need to go if I want to go to College of Marin? And we're like, you go here. And we would guide them. And we just didn't like how a lot of them were excluded. And we ended up doing a lot of things. We, as our Avid class, we even made a dance in Spanish, like Latino-based music. We really wanted to be represented and feel represented. Yeah. And we realized that it had to come from us. So when that happened, one of the English is it the teacher who teaches English for Spanish students? I don't know the name of the class.
Oh, ESL? ESL, yeah.
She realized what we were doing, and we would go into her classroom and ask her, hey, can you give us like 10, 15 minutes to present something in front of your class? And we would give motivational inspirational things.
Yeah.
So we would share our stories. Like, I came when I was here. This is what I did. And some of the students that we had would get drunk. They would share that, and they would share also, like, I am living in the U.S. without my parents. I live by myself. With my uncle or all of this. And some of the students that I got to work with were students who were in foster care. Yeah. I tutored a lot of those students.
Wow.
And I got to work with students who spoke my language, Quiche. So sometimes they didn't understand me. And I'm like, yo, I totally understand you. That's how I felt. So the teacher, she heard about Presente. And she said, I'm sending you all to an interview. And it was basically, I don't remember who was the guy who was doing the interviews, but it was 3 of us in a row. There was like 9 of us. It was a group of friends of 9.
Yeah.
Who was your facilitator? Was it David?
No.
Was it Deborah?
No.
Oh, man.
I don't remember his name. I feel bad. But basically, we did the interview, and he talked about, it's a paid internship, and he said, I think you guys would be one of the greatest groups to go there. We went there, and it was, to me, it's one of my favorite programs I've ever done because of what I learned about traumas, generational traumas, and you learn your personal traumas, how you can overcome that, how you can become a leader. And you asked me earlier today, I told you I don't really like being in front of the camera, and you asked me, why do you do it? Because of the youth voices that you mentioned earlier. I get on here, I get to share my stories, my personal traumas, my personal experiences, and it has changed me in a way to help the community. And one of my biggest dreams ever since I was little was helping, and I never really knew what that meant. And slowly over the years, I've kind of learned what that is. But to me, Presente played a huge part to being in TAY. I know after the program was ending, I forgot his name again. Rene was like,
shout out to Rene.
Yeah.
He's we've had him on the show before.
Yeah, and he was like, yo, you need to be in TAY Radio. And he told me, here's the opportunity. And I think Brendan was leaving, and he said, you know what, you could join. And I said, okay. I tried it out, was very nervous. And now I'm here, and I have other roles in MCM right now as well. But for me, I really enjoyed the program. I think it's a very powerful program to inspire. And again, you said kind of making sure that students and young adults don't go the other way, and just giving them an option and seeing that there are other options. And I think that was a huge part for me of like, where do I want to go? And it kind of swayed me here. So it had a huge impact. And I know for my friends too. I was out of the whole group, I think I'm the only one who did something after, but most of my friends, they're in college, they're doing their own thing. And I know that part of Presente they carry it. I know a lot of them had very hard stories growing up, and they're doing a lot of things. They're working, and it's really awesome to see them that they're taking a different route than taking another route that has more, I guess it's a harder one in a way of like consequences and things.
From what I've seen and heard about Presente, even though I never was a part of Presente, I have, because it used to be at the old studio. One of the more recent, things in Presente is they used to host it at our old studio. So I would overhear some of the things that Renee would be talking about with the students. And what I really see and hear from everyone's experiences about Presente is that it creates a spark. It creates like this flame that only continues to grow bigger. Like Renee kind of starts the flame, and then everyone who kind of gets out of Presente starts doing more with their life, because they start to understand themselves more. Like you guys said, they become more independent. They feel more independent, and they feel like they're ready to take on like anything, right? And it also goes with their I don't think we mentioned enough that a big part of Presente is like also connecting with your background, like your ethnic, like your cultural background, and I think that's really like eye-opening to a lot of kids, because I mean, when I was a youth, when I was like 14, 15, I went to Mexico for the first time, and seeing the difference in culture and seeing the difference in housing and living conditions in Mexico, at least the part that I went to, it really humbled me. You know, I feel like a lot of people are very similar. Is like when you go visit your country of origin, and if it's a poorer area, you get very humbled and you become very grateful for what you have back home. Because sometimes as a youth, especially like as a teenager, you're like, man, this sucks. Like I hate being home. Like it's so boring here. Like I wish I was living in some mansion or something, because like this place sucks. You know, like you get those thoughts every now and then, because you know you're just frustrated, and money is always an issue. But when you go to like your country of origin, and see like what other people struggle with, like with illnesses that they can't even go to the doctor for, or not even having enough food or clean water, like those things we really take for granted at when we're teens here, at least America, like living here in America as teens, we take for granted. And yeah, just it seems like I'm just making that connection, that Presente's connection to your cultural background helps just humble you and make you just grateful for what your parents helped and sacrificed to get you to where you're at now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, kind of going back to the culturally appropriate staff, we can't just hire just anybody to come teach a leadership group to at-risk kids from a very particular demographic area. You know, Canal is very specific, and not everybody can come teach and try to inspire these kids. It takes specific individuals to come with their own experience to come and serve as a peer and a mentor to these kids. Same thing with Rene. You know, he's an immigrant from Colombia. Kind of went through similar experiences when he was younger, when he migrated here. So, again, doesn't have to be from Guatemala, Mexico. You know, we go through similar experiences as immigrants. So, having that culturally appropriate staff and colleagues and peers to be able to speak to these kids, it just speaks volumes.
Yeah, no, it really does. And you know, I can't give enough credit to Rene, because he's a wonderful mentor. Hopefully we can have him on the show soon again. We did have him on the show, I think, last year, just talking about Presente. But just again, yeah, it does take a very strong leader and a very, like, someone who really knows the struggles and really understands at-risk youth, to really facilitate and coordinate a successful program. Because I mean, that's because Kim again also was recruited by Renee to be on TAY Radio, and I feel like Renee has a very good eye and like a very good, like, his heart's in the right place, and he knows when he sees someone's opportunity, he like has them like come and go and he pick. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, I'm really grateful that we have Kim on our team, and I'm really grateful that you're on our team. And as also Annalie, I know she didn't get recruited by Renee. I think she got recruited by David Escobar, who was teaching Presente before. Yeah. But just it leads, Presente really leads to an amazing independent long-term lifestyle. Yeah. That I think is just beautiful.
I do want to add something before. I know it looks like, oh my God, it looks so amazing, the program. But I talked to you about this, that being, you know, young adult, one of the hardest things is opening up, and even opening up to yourself. And I know part of Presente, I am where I am right now with different things that has happened to me, but it really is, it's a hard program sometimes, because you have to connect with you. The roots really is with you, where you come from, the traumas you have, what you've experienced growing up. So I do want to point that out, that it is a great program. It's there for the community, but also as someone who's experienced, you know, coming here and experienced other things, it's not easy. And I know, like, what a great program it is. And I know there's a lot of challenges being part of it as well, and understanding that. And I think one of the spark that you mentioned, I talked to you about it, and it was like, it's just realizing where I am and realizing that what happened is it's not my fault. That it happens because it happens, and just really taking that step and acknowledging that. And I think part growing up as a Latina or Latino, you grow up with a very different culture, and it's not your parents' fault, but that's just how they were taught, and the generation going back.
Yeah.
Like, machismo and alcoholism and so many things that, when we were in Presente, it was so hard to listen to, because Renee's talking about this.
Yeah.
Like,
it becomes very real.
yeah, and you're like, oh my God. But I really do. I want to say thank you for all the work that you've done in Presente before we could move on to the other topic. But yeah, really, thank you. Because to me, it did an impact. And it's Annalie and Kim. Kim and I talk about, the experience that we've had and learning just a little bit more of ourselves. Even if it's just 1%, it's still 1% and not 0%. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on, so since you've been, working for MCM for so long, what changes in the community have you seen? Like it doesn't have to just be with PFS, but with generally, because you connect with so many community partners. Like what changes have you seen from when you first started to where we're at now? Like it could either be positive or negative changes, like just anything that sticks out to you.
Just changes in general in the community.
Yeah.
Changes. I think it's really hard to measure. The changes in the community. I think, as one of the leading nonprofits here in our community, I think we're doing a great job. But it's not enough. And we have other organizations looking to us to kind of support in efforts to serve the population that we're currently serving and we're going to continue to serve. Changes are hard. What I've learned is that in making a lot of changes in the community and all the efforts that we strive to do, sometimes it just comes down to it being very political. Even when we want to make changes and this is a great idea and we want to create opportunities, sometimes it's just not going to work out. And unfortunately, I don't even meant to say unfortunately, that's something that just adds fuel to my flame. I'm like, okay. And I think I was speaking to you about this. I'm like, as long as I've been here, and now that I'm in more in a managerial position, able to make more changes, I'm able to, sit at the table and be like, this is what I'm seeing. I'm very grateful for that, for my professional development.
Yeah.
And I see it and I hear it from my peers on there. Thank you for expressing your experiences. You're hearing it firsthand. You're in the community. You're hearing the kids. You're hearing the parents. And, I think it's a work in progress, but we're moving towards something greater. I know when I first started here, there wasn't much collaborations going on within agencies and service providers.
Right.
And I think we're moving towards something more sustainable in that. Because a lot of people talk about it. I think there's a lot of talk where we want to work together. We want to talk how we can collaborate. But at the end of the day, it's just, do you really or do you not? And what is the main what is our goal? I mean, for me and I know for us is the people.
Yeah.
How can we serve them and how can we create and move mountains for you guys? So I think there's been changes in the community, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And
what's some of the work that you'd like to be done?
For me, more specifically for me, I'm working towards creating more opportunities that are free. We already create opportunities and we have programs that are free, but some of them are tailored and are very exclusive or inclusive for our partners. And just yes, our high risk youth need it, who are and just they do. But for me, what I've been working and dealing with is how can we create these opportunities before we get on the system, and I think that's something that we continue to work with a lot of our partners.
Yeah.
How can we create opportunities and programs that are being offered before you get into the system? So that's kind of where I'm working on right now with Douglas and Cesar and everybody at this organizations. And I spoke to you about this, right, Santy? I'm like, I probably won't leave here until I kind of leave my stamp and my mark.
Yeah.
I've been very happy here for the last 7 years. I've been able to move up. But I'm still not satisfied with the work that still left to be done. And hopefully when I leave, I'm able to leave with like, Diango did that.
Yeah.
He's left the stamp, and because of him, there's this program, or because of him,
I love that mentality.
that's what I want to
Yeah,
leave
I think
behind.
that's
I want to
awesome.
leave a legacy, and I want to leave my mark here. I've done great work, but again, nothing compared to what there's still left to be done.
I agree. I do want to talk about Partners for Success
Yeah.
a little bit and kind of get more of like what you do and anything you want to share, moments that have impacted you the most. We got to sit on Wednesday and you got to share some photos, and I've gotten to review those photos, and I was just talking to them, Annalie and Javier, and I was like, wow, like if I was a student going through something or a youth going through something, and I got the opportunity to go out and have these moments and experiences that sometimes you can't even have with your parents because of certain things happening. And it touched my heart. And as I was creating the videos, I was like, oh my God, this is so, it really warmed my heart. And I want to hear more about it because I know you work with, I can imagine the stories that you've listened to and talking to these kids. So handing it off to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was my first job here, being as a mentor, outreach worker, working with kids on juvenile probation. For me, it's always close and dear to my heart, just because, I wasn't a at-risk youth, but I was still going through similar experiences as these kids are going through. Luckily for me, I had soccer, and that kind of just took all of my time, and I worked. But when I got a little bit older and in transitional age, that's when I got in trouble. But I was also an undocumented immigrant that I was dealing with this unclosed case with my mom prior in 2001. So when I got into some legal problems, that arose, and I had no say when I applied and whatever happened with my immigration case with my mom, back in the day. But that arose, and it created, I was like in hiding, basically. I was kind of hiding who I was, basically, putting a front up to friends, schools, employers, name it.
It seems
I was
like
suppressing my actual identity and who I was, and I couldn't really feel like I was myself.
Right.
So when I got into those legal issues and I was able to see kind of the other side of it, I'm like, dang, our people are really going through it. I just was, not that I was blind to it. I had friends who were in gangs and who were doing mischievous stuff and, drinking, smoking, and doing all that. But I had something to guide me away from it. So,
and that was soccer.
That was soccer. It was just an opportunity. I remember when I was 10 years old, my friend who I lived in Canal at the Camelots, 20 Larkspur, he's like, yo, you want to go play? You want to go play at Pickweed? And then me and my cousin were like, you want to go? We're like, yeah. We're going to be out here playing anyways. So it just goes back into just making and creating opportunities. My friend was like, hey, you want to come play soccer? And I was like, yeah, dope. The rest is history. I was really good. And it was just, that's all I thought about day and night playing soccer. I played about 5 to 6 hours a day from 10 years old all the way to my second year of college Marin, until I got hurt. I got surgery. I couldn't play anymore. But that's something that drove me away from it. So for me, I always go back to that. Having an opportunity that kind of took me away from those bad peers, those bad influences, and then seeing the criminal justice side of it.
Well,
on how, leading or going into that path may arise and create more problems for you. Then you already have problems, and then you're going to create more problems for yourself, create more issues, more trauma. So for me, it was like, man, I'm seeing kids my age. I'm seeing adults who are leaving their families. So for me, it was okay. The system's pretty messed up. So how can I make an impact now? So when I got this opportunity, I'm like, when I was in school, I was like, okay, criminal justice is what I want to do. Didn't know what I wanted to do before that. So it all tied into me. I was like, okay, I knew I wanted to work with kids, and probation and criminal justice. I was like, boom, perfect. And then it ties back to just somebody reaching out, giving me an opportunity. So for me, again, Partner Success is a mentorship program working with kids in the juvenile justice system to guide them, mentor them, giving them skills, explore career paths, and then creating. We talked about this. And I like what you said that one day. Creating moments, because